Sultan Baybars I is revered as one of the most outstanding rulers of Egypt. He faced many ordeals in his destiny. Having worked his way up from a slave to a brilliant general, Baybars successfully resisted the Crusaders and stopped the Mongol invasion, earning him the popular nickname Abul Futu, that is, Father of Victories. Today we will talk about the great Sultan Baybars of Egypt. This is the Learning the World. Let's go. The great warrior was born about 1223. According to one of the most common versions, Baybars traced his origin to the Palavcians, who inhabited the wide steppe expanses of the Desht-i Kipchak. Some researchers even allocate an approximate area of birth of the commander between Volga and Ural. Another part of historians believe that the real homeland of Abul Futu was Crimea. The unexpected arrival of a cart with expensive gifts to the local town Sokat speaks in favor of it. These gifts were sent by Baybars himself after he became Sultan of Egypt, father of victories with the Central Asian Tatars, who were part of the Kimak people. At a young age, Baybars fell into Mongol captivity, from which he was first sold into slavery to a Syrian merchant. However, the latter, noticing an eyesore on the young man, rescinded the deal worth 800 dirhams. Nevertheless, sturdy steppe men were quite highly valued on the slave market. Therefore, Baybars was not destined to remain in captivity for long. He was spotted and purchased by Atajan, the emir of the Mamelukes, and his recruitment was made up of slave boys of Turkic and Caucasian origin. Their training camp was located on Rhoda Island, in the middle of the Nile. Here, along with the others, was Baybars. The young warrior quickly began to show his abilities, and by the age of 23, he was already in command of the Sultan's Guard. In 1250 he achieved his first serious military successes as a commander in the battles of El Mansur and Frisker. This was during the Seventh Crusade. The Christian armies were defeated and many crusaders were taken prisoner. Among them was the leader of the military campaign, King Louis IX of France. Then, feeling strong, a group of emirs led by Baybars, refusing to tolerate the neglect, assassinated the new Sultan Turan Shah as a result of a conspiracy. A chaotic change of rulers began. As a consequence, fearing for his own life, Baybars even had to hide for some time in Syria until he was guaranteed complete safety. His return proved timely. The Mongol threat loomed over Egypt. The army of Hulagu Khan was close to the borders of Egypt. And who knows how things would have turned out if chance had not intervened in the course of events. The news of the death of the great Khan monk had reached Hulagu. Anticipating the aggravation of the struggle for supreme power, he had to retreat to Iran with most of his army, leaving in the Levant only a relatively small corps under the command of Kitbuga. On learning of this, the Egyptian Sultan Qutuz became bold and executed the Mongol ambassadors who had arrived to demand obedience. War became obvious. Having gained free passage through the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Muslims were able to resupply and rest near Acre, which was one of the main centers of the Crusaders. As a result, Egyptian and Mongol forces clashed on September 3, 1260, near the spring of Ain Jalut. Baybars, by a false retreat, led Kitbuga's detachments into an ambush, where the Mamelukes attacked them from three sides, inflicting a crushing defeat on the enemy. The Kitbuga was captured and executed, the advance of the Mongols in the Levant was halted, and the myth of the invincibility of their army was dispelled. With such a glorious victory, Abul Futu hoped to gain control of the Syrian city of Aleppo. But the Sultan delayed, fearing the commander's ambitions. This angered Baybars. Having entered into agreement with other emirs, on his way back to Egypt, he asked the permission of the Sultan to keep one of the Mongol captives. Qutuz gave his consent, and the commander came up to kiss the Sultan's hand. At a tentative sign, the Mamluks rushed upon the Sultan, and the Father of Victories finished the job with a stroke of his sword. The emirs proclaimed their commander Sultan, and at the end of 1260 he solemnly entered Cairo as Baybars I. Upon coming to power, Baybars first began to gather allies to further oppose the Mongols. He managed to establish diplomatic contacts with the Rum Sultanate, the Georgian kingdoms, Byzantium and other states. However, he gained his most valuable confederate in the person of Golden Horde Khanberg, who, not being on the best terms with Hulagu, restrained his army by military actions in the Caucasus. In addition, Berk's men supplied large consignments of slaves through Italian merchants. On top of that, in strengthening the autonomy of their Ulus, they relied mainly on the Kipchaks, who constituted the core of the Mamluk forces under Baybars. It follows that linguistic and cultural proximity or even blood kinship among the parties may have played a significant role in establishing this alliance. By finding influential partners and strengthening his authority in the Muslim world, Abulfutu was able to launch a full-scale attack on the Christian states of the Near East. By ravaging the outskirts of Antioch in 1262, Baybars marked the beginning of the Egyptian army's annual campaigns into the Levant. In the years that followed, the Sultan's troops seized many Crusader strongholds and ravaged Kish in Armenia. In May 1268, the Mamluks also took Antioch itself. The principality was destroyed, the city destroyed, and its population either evicted or sold into slavery. And the captives were given away almost for free. Sufficiently serious resistance to the troops of Baybars during the Ninth Crusade could provide the future King of England, Edward I. However, he almost became a victim of an impertinent attempt organized by rumored Sultan of Egypt, as a result of which the monarch was ill for a long time, and then returned to his homeland. In early 1270, Baybars waged a campaign against the assassins. This formation of stealthy assassins terrified many rulers of the Middle East for many years, but it was the Egyptian Sultan who managed to finally destroy his system of secret fortresses in the Peas of Syria. It is believed that some of the assassins who had lost their homes even enlisted in the service of Baybars. At the same time, the Egyptian army of Abulfutu in a successful campaign across the Euphrates struck at the Mongol, Iranian. From 1274 to 1275, the Mamluks made several victorious expeditions into the Seljuk principalities of Asia Minor. This is only a small part of the Sultan's conquests. Baybars died on July 1, 1277, after he managed to defeat the Mongol units at Elbistan. According to legend, wishing to kill one of the emirs, the father of victories gave him a cup of poison kumis during a feast. But the cunning adversary, sensing the danger, discreetly changed the cups when the Sultan turned away. Baybars drank the poison drink and died 13 days later in terrible agony. Such was the battle-filled life of the formidable Sultan Baybars I. That's all for today. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos and give this video a thumbs up.